Incoming transmission.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another transmission from the Outpost Nerd. I am the nerd of the Outpost. Hope everyone's having a good evening. Hey, cool gamer, what's up? Thanks for being here. So, welcome to another edition of RPG Nightmares. So, I hope everyone had a good weekend, and I'm looking forward to a great week. So let's get started. Let's get into my first story. This week, I'm going to try to keep it a little more lighthearted than last week. Last week kind of hit hard. So let's get started with our first story. You know, sometimes people when they get excited, they get loud. This one's called The Loudest Role Player I've Ever heard. It starts off. Okay, so I don't have a lot of experience with RPGs, and last time I posted here, I got somewhat justifiable roasted, but this happened today, and I thought it was funny not to share. You know, sometimes these stories, they're just so weird that you got to kind of laugh. My real hobby that I'm passionate about is miniature wargaming, and I was building and painting some Warhammer stuff with friends at a public venue that you can rent to do stuff in. That's pretty cool. So while we were there, there was like a lot of noise upstairs, screaming, laughing, banging. It sounded like there was at least 3 people were having some kind of party upstairs. So we tried to ignore it, but then it just became too much. So one of us goes upstairs to check what the hell is going on. We find one guy, just one, who's sitting with 2 laptops and is role playing over Discord. Hey, Suzanne, thanks for being here. Fortunately, he was real nice and apologetic. What he said was quite something. This is making me chuckle. Sorry, I'm winning in D&D. I'm not sure any comment is necessary. He made me laugh at least. He didn't make less noise, but he left shortly after. That made me chuckle. You know, just sometimes when you find your passion, you nerd out about it, your volume increases. Hey, Memento, thanks for being here. You just get a little excited, you know. I'm the kind of guy I can see myself in this guy who's playing. You know, I always get excited and I get loud. It's just so much fun. So I can see that. You know, it's not so much of a horror story, but it's just funny little stories like this that you talk about. But so my next story is about rogues. Rogue stealths at start of the session, ends up missing the whole session. Okay, well then what's the point of playing? Hey, why don't you deliver one down to me? I could use one of those flat screen TVs. You know, just saying. So this one says, this isn't so much of a horror story as it is a cautionary tale for all the sneaky stabbers out there. That's a good way to... I never heard rogues described like that, but it fits. I enjoyed a campaign a while back that was wholly pirate themed. We would steal or purchase our own ship and sail, wrong sail, but around the seas, wreaking havoc and then all fun of all the fun piratey stuff everyone has dreams of. Damn, lucky neighbors. Doesn't really doesn't matter really since it never got past the second session. Oh, that's a shame. That sucks. But it's the first session that's the subject of this post. There were four of us who joined the adventure: myself, a warlock of the deeps, okay, two other classes I don't recall, and one rogue. The adventure started out with the ship we were sailing on sinking, and we four all that was left of its occupants drifting along in a lifeboat. Soon, however, through the mist, we see a ship taking form. Ah, so they're not necessarily for free. You're trading them. Okay, that's cool. And as our boat comes alongside, it's a rope is thrown down to us. Three of us climb up to greet our rescuers, but the rogue decides to do rogue things and sneaks on board. Eventually, we three, who aren't sneaking, are led in to meet the captain, where a heavy roleplay session takes place between our characters and this fat, bloated, drunk, paranoid captain. Huh. This lasts for the rest of the session, and the team calls it, and we quit for the night. However, poor Rogue didn't get to do anything. Instead, he spent the whole session passively sneaking around above deck, avoiding being noticed and not being able to role play at all. In fact, he did so thoroughly, he didn't even make any checks and ended up stuffing himself out of an entire session of role play. All this to say, my dear prospective rogues, that just because you can stealth like a boss and be practically invisible to all else that moves at level 1 doesn't mean you should. You might and likely will cheat yourself out of a good time doing so. So he was voluntold. Yeah, he was voluntold. Not he didn't volunteer. He was voluntold. Ah. Oh, this is funny. I've never experienced this. Making a roll. This sounds like maybe the DM should have stepped in and done something. He should have. I don't know. Uh, brought in brought the challenge level up. That this isn't. I don't see this as the player's fault. I see this as a DM who was too rigid in his story. He couldn't improvise along with the player's decisions. Hey Jacob, thanks for being here. Thanks for coming. And that's basically what a good DM does. A good DM, they have their story, but they need to be flexible of where the dice and players take them. Not saying that they need to completely disregard the plot, but they just need to be a little flexible. And this sounds like a DM that wasn't able to do that or willing or just didn't think about doing it. But you could have done so many things on this, like maybe the ship has magical security that I don't know, that detects the rogue. This could have had so many elements of like finding the rogue. Let's see, how do they describe it? They described the captain as a fat, bloated, drunk, paranoid captain. Like, he could have played so much into paranoid. I mean, that should have been, or maybe that the captain had a wizard first mate who could sense him or something, or there would have been so many ways. I'm thinking of at least 3 or 4 different ways that the DM could have brought in the rogue, kind of reeled back into the rogue, back in. So this seems to me just kind of a lazy DM. It's, it both are pretty good. Excuse me, had a bout of sneezing. Both of them are good in my opinion. Don't matter to me. But you know, the DM, it's basically just the DM not doing enough, and this is kind of goes into my next story. And this might be a short night. These are pretty short stories that I have tonight. This one's called Climax of the Campaign Ruined by a Bad Player. DM Let It Happen. I used to play with a guy we'll call Dr. Evil, old friend. Actually taught him how to play back when we were in grade school. He was a good dude and a great DM unless he's in a mood. You don't bring your moods into your game. And this is the story of what happened once when he was definitely in a mood. Dr. Evil is a brilliant dude, but he has some baggage. In his 20s, he dealt with it by drinking a lot and sometimes springing TPK encounters on his players. Everyone loved him as a person, no better friend to have, and his games were amazing 90% of the time. And nowadays, we're all past that kind of thing anyway. But back then, you just had to brace yourself for the possibility that on any given night, it was going to be ugly. Being at a tedious recap of a long campaign, the whole thing accumulated with trying to save an elven artifact that was the touchstone of life for all living things on the game world from what it was basically a nihilistic demon who wanted to eat it to gain its power. Interesting plot hook, which may or may not have worked, but definitely would have killed every living thing on the planet. Dr. Evil set up the counter in a clever way so that we were basically playing keep away. Demon would come after who had the stone, and they would toss it to someone else on their action and take some lumps. While everyone else in the party would do some damage to the demon, we figured we could keep this up until we killed it. Until someone tossed it to problem player. There's always one problem player. Problem player was a good dude, but he was kind of an inconsistent role player, and sometimes he was more interested in doing something that struck him as interesting or funny than actually playing well with the group or advancing game. And this time, his character was a cleric who had never revealed his god. There was a god of secrets in the game, and we assumed that's who he worshipped. Okay, that assumption was a mistake. We pass him the stone, and he hurls back his hood and says, "All shall perish for the glory of Hastur," or some shit, and leaps into the mouth of the demon with the stone. So yeah, he'd been worshiping the old ones or some shit like that, and tanked the whole campaign at the very climactic encounter. And Doctor Evil, who was a couple of 6 packs deep and in a mood, just laughed his ass off. Problem player did apologize later, and Doctor Evil acknowledged it was a mistake to let the problem player play that kind of character, and also a mistake to let him pull that shit on the rest of us at the end of the night. But it stands out in my memory as one of the most infuriating and upsetting sessions I've ever played. Still kind of funny though. Oh God, I would have had a fit. I would have had a fit. Once again, okay, this is an example. Maybe keep the alcohol at tables for the DM at least to a minimum. It's this one says he had a couple of 6 pack deep and in a mood, and he just laughed his ass off. This is the kind of thing where you have to be careful. The player should have thought, how will my actions affect the rest of the players? That's what you kind of have to do. When weighing your decisions, you have to think, okay, how will this affect the game? How will this affect the other players? Will it hurt the overall gameplay? Will it push the story along? And the fact that none of them tried to figure out what the god this cleric was worshiping is kind of on them. The DM should have stepped in. Reading this plot hook, the crystal that kind of supports all life on this world, and a demon trying to get it, gain power. I get so much Power Rangers movie vibe from that recent failure piece of crap Power Rangers movie. And that movie sucked. It was horrible. But this one seemed. He's played. So this one seemed maybe a while ago, possibly even before the movie. These are. I mean, I don't know how I would have reacted if the DM had let this happen. The DM should have stepped in and figured it out. Once again, the DM needs to figure out a plot hook that goes along with the decisions the kids or the players are making. And this is an example of keeping alcohol to a minimum at a table. So that's all I got for y'all today. It's a relatively short show. Just some lightheartedness after last week's heavy episode. So I hope y'all have a good week. I will see y'all around. Check out Winning Reality and Talking Trash and Truth tonight. They got a big show going on tonight. And Talking Trash and Truth, good friends of mine, has a morning show tomorrow, Wednesday, and Friday. So check all them out. And with that, as I always say, I'm the Outpost nerd. Find your passion and nerd out about it. I'm gone.